I used Chat GPT to build myself a Chrome extension, and now I'm getting ready to submit it to Google. Stick with me as I talk you through what I did. I tell you about the mistakes I made and where I went wrong, and see me submit for review this extension. Hi, I'm Jason. I'm a 45-year-old dad of two. I'm aiming to build an app a week. Follow me if you want to see more. Okay, so let's take a look at the extension to begin with. It is here and it's working. Let's just see. Yes, the idea is it will sort any HTML table which doesn't already have sorting functionality. It will add that sorting functionality, and then you can sort the table in the way you want. So if you want to sort by name, you want to sort by age, you can do all of that. Perfect. So let's start with when you're going to Chat GPT, what model you use. And this is a really interesting one, because Chat GPT have their own guide, but if you get it wrong, and I did actually almost deliberately get it wrong because I wanted to try something and see if I could use a simple model. But if you do get it wrong, you'll find it's a lot harder. So the key here, I would say, is that if you want to do coding, you absolutely need to use a model beginning with O. If you want to summarize text, if you want to get creative, you can use the other models, and don't get 4.0 mixed with 04, not the same. So the 03, the 04 mini, and there's also an 04 mini high, just to confuse things. Those are the models you want to use. Which one you use, it kind of depends. It's up to you. The 03 is probably the strongest one. 04 mini and 04 mini high may be more advanced, but they're a lighter version, so they're faster, but they might be missing things. So 03 is probably the workhorse. I actually used 04 mini high, as we'll see later, because I didn't want to use up my 03 queries. 03 is more limited in terms of queries. Okay, so the first thing I did though was I tried to build it using just a normal GPT 4.0 model. What happened? It didn't work at all. No. I wasn't going to investigate this. I took a look at some of the stuff in there. It just wasn't right. And I don't really think the 4.0 model is meant for that or was very good at that. So I then went to the 04 mini high model, and it wasn't all easy either. There were some hiccups along the way, and we'll talk about them. So first thing I did was I created a product requirements document. Why did I do this? Now, this is an interesting thing, actually. You can just go in and say create this, but the process of creating the product requirements document, which is what you'd normally do if you had a developer build it, you'd have the product requirements document. This process is a really good one in terms of thrashing out the functionality that you actually want, and that's why I did it. So here we can see I created I got a lot of questions from ChatGPT, and that's because I actually said to ChatGPT, ask me any questions you like. I invited it to do that because I was giving it a very, very short requirement, very basic, and I wanted to get it to ask me the questions that it needed in order to build the product requirements document. And that was only the first step, remember. The second step was going to be coding. So if we look here at the product requirements document, we can see quite clearly that we got a lot of questions from ChatGPT. So there's questions about the audience and the use cases. There's questions about a lot of the questions were around how simple it should be. And when I answered, I tended to go with keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it simple, mostly. And that's because there's the concept called minimum viable product, and I wanted to stick to that. I wanted to stick to getting something done rather than having some big grand idea that didn't work. And that was really important. So I tried to keep it as simple as possible, and here we have it. There was something here that I did ask for some requirements. So yes, able to toggle between ascending and descending was an example of that. And I explained the sort of data elements we might be sorting on. So this is all just about making it clear to ChatGPT what we're trying to do, so it can then clarify that in a product requirements document. And it did. And it wrote me a beautiful product requirements document. It even included these user stories, which surprised me a little bit because they were spot on. It nailed it. I only gave it really kind of one example, but it sort of took that and it took that into, added these other two, and they're good. They're good examples. So that's great. And it came up with the functional requirements. And again, this was spot on. And if it wasn't accurate, I could have just asked it to change it or to do something differently. But it was exactly what I wanted. And I was really pleased with this. This is really the meat of the product requirements document. And it came up with some non-functional requirements based on what I'd said. So those were the main things in it. I then said, okay, can you turn this into a technical specification? I have to be honest, I actually thought this was going to be another step and we're going to almost get into pseudocode. But I think maybe I was being a little bit too pedantic because we had kind of the clear functional requirements here. So I don't think we needed actually a separate technical specification. And Chat GPT realized that, and it gave me an actual code that I needed to implement the app. But before it did that, it did ask me some questions. Because again, I said, ask me any questions you like. And so here we see there's the questions. And one of the things that I thought was quite helpful, for example, is do you want it written in plain JavaScript or TypeScript? I've never used TypeScript. I've used a little bit of JavaScript. I won't pretend I'm very good at it, but I've used some JavaScript. So I thought, okay, I'll have it in JavaScript. It gives me a chance of understanding what's going on. A lot of the other things are around keeping it simple. But again, it's some of the technical questions. And if you don't understand anything, you could just go and look it up, either in another instance of Chat GPT, or you could say to Chat GPT, I don't understand this point. What does that mean? What's the difference? I mean, it even explains it itself. So it explains the difference between document end or document idle. That document idle means all the tables should be present. So yeah, I wanted all the tables present. So I said, wait till document idle. And I think, that's a really clear way to ask that question and sort of narrow that down. Narrow that down when they're producing the actual code. And it even then came back, and I was a bit surprised by this. I hadn't seen this before. It even came back and said, "Oh, well, you're doing this date passing and all of that, and you said, is it acceptable to use this date pass function to sort the dates? And it might mean that some date formats aren't quite what you want." And I said, okay, again, with the idea of keeping it simple, I said, use date pass, because the risk of doing it otherwise is that ChatGPT will be trying to build a separate date function. And to be honest with you, I don't need it to. I'd do a separate ChatGPT and ask it to build a JavaScript function to do dates if I wanted that. I don't really want to get into here and complicate it. Okay, so it built me the technical specification. Now, because of the way it's done it on Canvas here, you can click it and you can open up and you can chat with it about it. I did chat with it, so this isn't the actual final version. It made some small changes to it. But this is what it was coming up with straight away. The introduction, really clear goals and so on. An architecture overview that explains what's going on. Really helpful, really clear. Absolutely love this. And if you're learning, this is sort of another point, is I've learned so much about Chrome extensions and how they work and building it from this. I would say I could build one myself now, but I'm not going to because, well, I've got ChatGPT to do it for me. But I think it'll be faster the next time because I've got that understanding, and that's really helpful. It's giving you the code for the manifest, and it explains what's going on here, what it needs in terms of permissions. And what's going on, and I'd forgotten that one later, but it told me anyway, it explained it to me. So this is the code that you just copy and paste into manifest.json and you save it, I did, and again the content script, and we can see those are the only two files. It's these two files that it needs. In fact, I also added some stuff on icons as well, but that's a separate thing. So the code is not too difficult to understand if you know some JavaScript, but we're using ChatGPT to do it, and it explains it for you. It explains what's going on, what the date detection is. It explains the comparator. It's got even some comments in here to what it's doing. Again, sort of super helpful if you're trying to understand it. And it's telling us, how we could even enhance it and make it better. It's giving us some testing that we could do. I think this might have actually come when I was asking it questions. And troubleshooting, debugging. This definitely came when I was asking it questions, and we'll see about that in a minute. So I copied that across, and yes, it would work on something like this. So that's great. It did actually work out of the box. No problem. The reality is, though, in the real world, some things aren't quite as simple, and you get these HTML tables that are built not in quite the standard way, or not at least in the way that Chat GPT was expecting. And that was causing errors. So I went back to Chat GPT and I said, I'm getting errors. And it's a little bit funny what happened here. It was a bit strange. I wasn't actually expecting this in this way. It prompted me to go and actually give it a bit more information, because I wasn't being very helpful in how I said I've got some errors going. So it added to the technical specification that bit you can see about the debugging and the troubleshooting. And some of this is things like, it is basics that I did know anyway, but again, I was trying to use ChatGPT very heavily, because I don't know that much code, but I didn't want to rely much on me coding much at all. I wanted to see how much ChatGPT could do. But it literally says, after loading a page containing a table, open DevTools console to spot syntax errors or exceptions. It's telling us to insert the console.log. So it's giving me some hints about actually how I can check if things are going wrong and understand it and get into that. And that's really helpful, because I can say, okay, this is the problem. And this is actually literally from the console.log. Here we have it. This was the error. And because it told me to go to console, this is from the console, but I clicked this and it got to the sources. It wasn't from the console.log, so it was from the console and going to the sources and following that. And because it told me to do that, told me to go to the console and to check for the errors, I could find it. I could go here and I could literally click on this in the console and find this line that was erroring. Great, it's now taught me, if I didn't know already, how to find errors. And I can tell it the error, I can feed it back the error, and it works out what's going wrong, and then it fixes it. Now, there was some back and forth. They didn't fix it first time. It did, but it created other errors. So it was sort of back and forth a little bit. And I did cheat a little bit, but I think ChatGPT would have got there anyway. I added sort of an extra couple of console.logs to the code. It was adding some console.logs, but I added a couple of extra, and that helped me work out what was going wrong, and I could explain it to ChatGPT. So it really just needed very, very basic knowledge of JavaScript to fix it. And as I say, I think ChatGPT would have got there anyway. I'm trying to find a bit where so it was back and forth, as you can see. Yeah, and here I explained that what I thought was going wrong, because I put some console.logs and I could see what was going on. So again, it helped to know a little bit of JavaScript to do that, but I think it could have got there without that. And this bit worked. This last bit worked. It absolutely creates sortable tables, and you can see here, for example, that the table sorts. Great. Now, there was something still that I realized I messed up. Well, not messed up, but I was kind of expecting something that was impossible. I was expecting it to be able to sort this table, but it makes no sense to sort this table. If you're sorting this table by date, how does that work? How do you if you need to split something, for example? I mean, you might not, but if you're sorting it by format or by how does it work when you've got United States here? You've got these are not single rows. It's not really a sortable table. So I was trying to sort it, and of course it just didn't work. And that, I don't think there's really a way of doing that practically, because these are not normal rows. You could design a table and think about the table and how you do that, but I don't think you just inject JavaScript and just expect to sort a table like this. So I'm pretty happy with the result. I think it's kind of what I wanted. And so I've got it myself, but I would like to upload it to the Chrome store. I'm sure there's something out there which does probably a better job, or a similar job at least. And I don't think I've made something really fantastic in the short time with ChatGPT, but I just want to go through the experience of uploading it to the Chrome store. So actually, to do that, I went to ChatGPT and it explained to me what to do. So I did it in a separate chat so as not to confuse things. So you have to register, you have to pay a fee. and it tells you what you need to prepare, tells you what you need to fill out, and gives some hints. And it was pretty much spot on. And I think, I mean, obviously there's Google help pages of this stuff, but this is just probably the easiest way to do it. I did need an icon, so you know what? I just went to Chat GPT to create the icon for me, and it did all the work for me. Fantastic. So, and then I was having some trouble, I think, publishing it, and it also helped me with that. I had a question about something on there. So I had a question on the privacy. I wasn't quite sure what to put here in these justifications. So again, I went back to ChatGPT and it gave me what I needed with some template text. I just replaced the template text just to explain what the extension was doing. And that was it. It was very easy, and it was made easy by ChatGPT. I think the one thing I didn't just depend on ChatGPT for was the screenshot. The screenshot had to be the exact format, which, to be fair, it did tell me that. But because it had to be this exact format, and I just took the screenshot, I created in Canva the right size, and I copy-pasted the screenshot into Canva, because it wasn't the right size. I copy-pasted it into Canva just to get it into the exact size that it needed to be, downloaded it, and uploaded it to the Chrome store. So that was the one thing I didn't use ChatGPT for, but I just used another tool which is very, very simple and very easy to use. Now, this is meant to be ready to submit. I've not added anything interesting like home pages or privacy policies, because we're not doing anything exciting. So let's see what happens when I submit it. Okay, it doesn't like the fact that I've asked for broad host permissions. Let's see how it handles that anyway. What I'll do is I'll see if it's declined because I'm asking for too much. They'll tell me, I guess, and then I'll go back to ChatGPT and just see if it can help me maybe edit the file or ask for less permissions in order to do that. So there we have it. Very short, very easy way to create my own Chrome extension in ChatGPT without any real difficulties, and learn about how to build a Chrome extension along the way. So I could do it myself now if I wanted to, but why would I when I've got ChatGPT to do it for me?